getting started with the screen, I've started with a dashboard, right? As leadership or as middle management, visibility is key. You need to transparently know what's going on. Proactive uh, surfacing of issues is something that you really want to know instead of having to fight fires and be reactive to something that's already gone wrong. So, how do you get that visibility, right? This is a great way for someone like a leader or a middle manager to start their day, where they get a quick read on what's happening across their portfolio of projects in their team, and what needs their immediate attention. And the way this dashboard is constructed and set up is very, very flexible. It's you are able to create multiple versions of dashboards, share it with different teams, add global filters, and so on. So technically, it's you can think of it as a very similar experience to something like building a dashboard on a Salesforce platform or some other tool. It's very similar over here as well. But essentially, looking at these numbers, it shows me exactly what I need to see, and it also surfaces some risks that I need to look at. So there are about 13 engagements that are at risk. Now, at this point, I probably don't know if, why are they at risk? Are they not profitable? Am I losing out on the margin? So as soon as you click on any of these numbers or visuals, it's actually going to give you actionable insights. So you not only see those 13 engagements that are at risk, but you also see reasons as to why they're potentially at risk. So there's the reasons. Could it be because of the budget? You can add more columns here. It's not just limited to the view that you're seeing. So, hey, have I consumed more than 100%? Is that why it's at risk? So you get very quick information at your fingertips rather than having to reach out to someone, ask for a spreadsheet, pull reports manually. All of this is surfaced to you automatically. All you need to do is just keep a lookout on this dashboard. So that's great. But if you look at some of these numbers, the overall utilization looks way too good to be true, and that's fine. But if you want to drill a bit further down, hey, I want to see individual target rates, and if my team has been hitting those targets. If you want to go that granular, we do have a dedicated reporting section, which is going to be a combination of both out of the box canned reports and custom reports that you can build on the fly, which I'll show you in a few minutes as we go into the reporting section. Now, this is great for a leader or a middle level manager to start their day, but as a consultant, a great view for them to look at would be a list of the projects that they're running. And this is the project portfolio list view, where you look at all the engagements that people are working on, along with what's currently happening across those. So think of this as a quick 30,000-foot view as to where things are at. There's a quick read on the status, the progress, completion rate of phases or deliverables within the project. And as I keep scrolling, the system gives you a lot of information that's useful. Hey, are we running late? Has the team been sending out weekly exec summaries? Because there is a built-in module that's going to automatically help people to send out and draft and send out exec summaries very quickly, week on week, which is templatized, which is pretty cool. I'll show you how that works as well in a bit. But as I keep scrolling, the theme is pretty similar. But I think the unique part and the biggest value behind this page is not just information or data that Rocketlane shows you, it's also the ability to bring in your own data fields or custom fields. Because as you can see, all of these fields that I have on my right are just custom information that I'm either having my team fill in or getting it through automation. And what I mean by that is our product can integrate with Salesforce, does a tight integration with Salesforce. We can also bring in your pipeline, your sales pipeline into Rocketlane to say, hey, at 60% or 75% probability or commit, start bringing opportunities into Rocketlane so you can actually soft book resources ahead of time, and maybe look at staffing requirements ahead of a quarter or two and know what that forecasted revenue or cost is going to be for the team. So that's something that you can do with the Salesforce integration. And um, uh, by the integration, you're able to also sync information from the opportunity. Hey, what does the budget look like, and so on. And you can see how I can edit these fields and even customize the columns and maybe even add filters. So it's pretty flexible in the way you can design, or set up these filters and views for different teams. But in my experience, I've also seen people using this as a way to run different kinds of scenarios as well, not just visibility for different teams. And what I mean by that is, if I'm going on a weekly cadence with my team, usually it's getting them all on a huddle, asking them to display their spreadsheets, what they're doing, their own trackers. Instead, I can set up a view called weekly view for my team, and it just pulls up a list of projects that's been worked on by the team or a specific individual, and I only see the columns that I need to see. The latest notes, the health, hey, we're ahead of time. That's a good overall sentiment. That's great. If I want to do a quick budget check, um, where are we with the financials and so on, I can do that too. I can switch to this view, which just shows me, hey, are we what how much of the budget have we used up? What's remaining? Are we on a good budget? How much of the budget have we consumed so far? So without having to jump into detailed reporting or having to pull manual reports, if you just want to get a quick overall picture of where things are at, you can just manipulate some of these views to get to the view that you want to. Even goes one level above to say, hey, show me what's in the pipeline, so you know what's coming in from Salesforce, what the ARR looks like. Not just Salesforce, any CRM for that matter. So what does the budget look like, what's budgeted, what's allocated, and so much more. So now that we have seen how the tool helps surface a lot of visibility, a lot of information that you need to see, let's look at how these projects or engagements are actually spun up. What is the source of the data within them? How are they built, and so on. So, jumping screens, um, a lot of what Rocketlane helps teams to do is standardize for operational excellence, in the sense that today a lot of people are managing things their own way. Things can be siloed. If we try to standardize as much of the process as we can, we can bridge a lot of those timeline gaps. People don't have to wait to learn to do something. It's already, the system tells you or helps you do the things that's already been set up by the team, by the admin team, and they just follow what they should do. But also, there is room for automation as well that's baked into these templates, which I'll show you in a bit. But the idea has always been, how do we standardize a lot of what people are trying to do today? And you will see a lot of different types of templates we can build in the system. But the project templates are going to be the flagship templates, which houses most of the other templates as well. So frequent documents people use, frequent emails that people can send out, or questionnaires through which they collect information, right? Going into a template, you will notice that as soon as I go in, it is a typical template builder. Yes, it lets you decide what the high level phases or milestones are going to be within your project plan, and the subtasks and tasks that have to come underneath, which is pretty typical. But there's a lot of things you can standardize and configure on the template to make it much more easier for your team when they want to operate on actual projects. What I mean by that is, apart from just setting the hierarchy of these phases and tasks, you can also set up what the base resource requirement is going to be if a template like this is used um, in the future for a project. What you'll do is essentially key in, hey, I need these resources if this template is going to be used in a specific project. If I'm going to deal with an enterprise client, I need an implementation specialist for 80 hours. I need customer success for 90. And you can form that peanut butter spread, or however you want to spread those allocations across the timeline based on what items you're working on. This can be standardized on the template. So when a project is spun up, the resourcing team already has a list of requirements in terms of what resources are required, how many hours they need to put in, and so on. So all that's automated for them. But it's not just that. There's also a lot of things that you can key into the template to ensure there's no redundant work that the team needs to put in. All the manual repetitive tasks that they do can be automated. For example, um, a lot of the times what happens post scheduling a kickoff meeting is always sending out a summary, an email follow up saying, hey, this is what we're going to see in the kickoff meeting. This is the scheduled date. If you want to reschedule, click on this link, a lot of other information, right? So, what Rocketlane can do, and if you know that at this point people are always going to send a follow up email, you can key in an automation or configure an automation to say, hey, as soon as a kickoff meeting is scheduled, send out a welcome email that has content in the email that's personalized to the client. So it's going to greet them with their name. It's going to fetch specific information from this customer, like let's say from your CRM or from what you've already stored in Rocketlane, things like the kickoff date, potential go live date, Calendly link of the user. All of that can be sent via email. So people don't have to copy a previously sent mail, modify it, send it from scratch. The tool can do that for them. But it's not just helping users minimize the repetitive tasks. It's also what insights you as a manager or leader can get from the process. Because a lot of times there needs to be some governance with project management to ensure that things happen in a timely manner. And to that point, for example, if there's a billable milestone, right? If there's solution approval, which is a pretty important task or event for in the project, and if it becomes overdue, it's going to spoil the go live date. Or if it becomes overdue, there's revenue leakage, not able to bill the customer or recognize the revenue on time, you can set up early warning signals or proactive alerts to check if this billable milestone is slipping, check for a bunch of conditions. Hey, if it's a high value customer, and automatically notify a bunch of folks. And it could be via Slack, Teams, could be a DM, could be an email to a leader, and it can contain the specific information from the task, who delayed it, what's wrong. You can add more information. You can also form a matrix or escalation matrix to say, hey, if nothing happened after 4 days, wait until the sixth day and escalate it further up the chain. So this can be keyed in at specific intervals at specific points. So there's always some early warning signal and proactive alert that you get, rather than having to wait until things turn sour and then having to firefight. This makes it so much easier for people to stay on top of things. The last thing that I want to point out on the template building experience itself is it's great that we have seen all of this so far. The basic structure of the project plan, the allocation piece, also some automations you can set up. One other thing is not every customer might need every single task that's on this template. And that's something that we have seen people commonly do before coming into Rocketlane. Users pick a template, go into a project plan, delete tasks that are not required for the client. They probably look at the SOW somewhere else and then delete the tasks that are not required or add extra tasks that are specific to that customer. So to help on this front, what we've done is introduce dynamic conditions as a functionality that's unique to Rocketlane built into the templates to read information um, and from that customer's information to check if they actually need certain tasks. Hey, if the customer does not need integrations, then don't bring in this task. If the customer's enterprise or mid-market, bring in the pre-kickoff phase. The best part is we can read this information if you key it into Rocketlane, or we can read this information when the project's being created from your CRM. And if the data is already there, we automatically create the right set of tasks for the client. And this could also be in cases where you have a different set of products that you deal with or sell, different services that you sell. We can actually read those line items and create the right project plan for the client. This saves a ton of time, to be honest. Your team does not need to worry about going into the project plan, looking at an SOW that's somewhere else, deleting tasks manually. The system actually does it for them. And second, in terms of maintenance and housekeeping, it becomes so much easier. In fact, I used to implement Rocketlane for clients in the past, and I had an incident where customer came to me with 55 different templates, and we reduced that to just 5 templates, if my memory serves me right. And the reason why they had 55 different versions of the templates is because for every tiny change for a specific subset of customers that they had, they used to clone this template, make it or name it version 1.2, 1.3, and so on, and saved it. After a period of time, the users did not know which template to pick. And second, if there's a small update in the process, they had to go update 55 different templates. So in terms of housekeeping, this becomes so much easier. Hey, have one master template, have conditional logic, let Rocketlane make it easier for your team. And all you have to do in terms of housekeeping is update that one template if ever needed, right? So these are some of the unique items that we have, thought through and built into Rocketlane to improve a lot of operational inefficiencies, automate a lot of things, um, ensure there's the standardization across the team, and so on. So now that we've seen how the templates are structured, how data can come in potentially from a CRM or spun up in Rocketlane manually, we also saw how the pipeline can be built out. Now, the next natural step is to see how do we actually staff the right people into these projects. So there is resource management that's built into Rocketlane, of course, and I can see on my view there's a pipeline of 3 projects that are waiting to be staffed, as the name suggests over here. And at this point, I can see a quick Gantt and also expand into the project plan to see the right, or the amount of resources I need and the amount of hours I need them for as well. And the system will also help me see how much I've allocated so far, what was budgeted initially, and so on. So let me, yeah. So I see that there's 700 hours remaining that I can stuff for. Now at this point, I can choose to stuff for each individual resource requirement by just clicking on the Find Team Member option. But Rocketline also tries to help you with this process as much as it can, because financials are built in. It knows how much people are going to cost you. It knows what that budget requirement for the project is. It also has project management built in, so how many tasks there are for people to work on and so on. So instead of you having to find individual members for each role, you can ask the system to do that for you. So we call this a resource AI module. It's Rocketlane's first foray into the world of AI, and there's a lot more coming on that front, which we're super excited about. So, if you'd love to know more, I would say book some time with our team. We are happy to take you into our future AI roadmap. But talking about this module in specific, you can see how the tool asks me to pick from a bunch of options for it to build the right perfect team. So I can feed a bunch of parameters and say, I want to maximize margins. I want to pick the most cost effective team. And the moment I hit next and go to the financials tab, is not only going to show me a list of folks who it thinks are the best match for this project. As you can see, sales, this person is the best. Implementation, Rachel is the best match. It also shows me individual numbers, um, where potentially, if I'd go with this team, this is the individual revenue numbers, cost numbers, and margin numbers. And if I go, if I look at the overall numbers on top, it tells me if I go with this team, this is the planned revenue, cost, profit, and in turn margin as well. And the reason the tool is able to do this math is it can see a lot of data that's in the system in terms of how much people are going to cost, what the budget of the project is, what the billing method looks like, what the forecast is. It uses all of these numbers to produce the overall margin number here. Now, at this point, I might feel like Rachel is not the right person for this project. I need somebody who's more local, who knows a little bit of the software that she needs to use to implement for this customer. Basically, essentially choosing from a list of skills. I can do that at this point. I can say, I don't feel like Rachel is the best fit and I want to swap her out. I can open a skills matrix, and depending on the role that I'm choosing, it's going to show me a specific list of skills that I can choose from, and all of these are custom fields. So it's not just static as in what Rocketlane offers. You can bring in your own custom skills, and the cool part is we can also sync with your HRMS platform. So if you already are doing this in some tool like Workday, Bamboo HR, HiBob, etc., we can sync skills, we can sync PTOs, time off, so you have that accurate information in the system. But as soon as I pick the skills and choose to swap Rachel out, I can then do what if scenarios to see what the margin numbers look like if they fluctuate, and then choose to assign the entire team into the project plan. So just want to show a very quick way of how people can be staffed, etc. But there's more to resource management as well. So if you want to book some time with that team, this, for example, a very quick way to see the actual resource um, uh, forecasted utilization. How much are they forecasted to work on these projects? Um, there's a demand versus supply graph as well. So you can take staffing decisions to very quickly see, hey, is the team being overburnt? Do I need to hire more folks in customer development? What does my capacity to work ratio look like? And so much more. Perfect. So we've seen how the tool helps with visibility, standardization, even staffing with the right availability, skill, and cost. The next portion is to actually see how the whole project management, customer collaboration piece really works, and how accountability is defined on the customer front as well. So, getting into actual project management, at its core, Rocketlane is a project management tool. So, there's going to be a lot of functionality and depth in this at this front, where it's not only going to be a surface level project management tool, like a to-do list tool. It's actually a project management tool that offers agile and waterfall methodology of working. You have Gantt charts, you have sprints, you have Kanban boards, and the like, right? So But starting with this view, this is a timeline based board view. We also support a traditional Gantt chart, that is a timeline that has all the traditional bells and whistles of a Gantt. So you have dependencies, you can move things across swim lanes, look at the critical path. You can also do inline editing, and you can also shift dates in bulk, which is an automated way of shifting dates. For example, yes, there are dependencies, and if I move one of these tasks, is going to move the dependency chain automatically, which is expected. But there could be tasks that are not tied together, and maybe you need to move a chunk of the project plan or the entire project plan because the customer's on PTO or vacation time, right? And nothing can be done unless they come back. So if you want to move things in bulk that are not really connected, you can use the shift dates functionality that helps teams shift either the entire project plan or just a specific set of tasks. And I can also mention if it's going to be a week or month, etc. And as I make this change, I can also add a baseline to audit or track these changes as well. So, hey, I'm changing this based on a customer request. So as I always, track this, there's always an audit trail, of the different baselines of this project plan. And if I want to compare it with a previous snapshot, I can do that too. I can just say I want to look at this baseline, and it actually gives me visuals on the screen to tell me, hey, initially this task was supposed to start on the 8th of April, but right now it's starting on the 26th of April. So there's always a way for you to look back at a previous snapshot, even, maybe pull reports on this to see how long things took to complete and so on. So a couple of timeline based views. One is the board and the Gantt. But even before I move to the other views, there's very quick visual indicators for you to understand who's responsible, who's accountable, and who can view things. Now, these logos at the bottom of tasks tell you the responsible company, whether it's you or a customer or a partner, even. It also shows you who's assigned in terms of individual users. And you also see that there are certain tasks on the top left corner that have a light shade of yellow to them, and the rest of the tasks are white. So anything in the platform, anything in Rocketlane that has a light shade of yellow to it is meant to be completely private or internal. So when you invite your customers, they don't get to see any of the internal tasks. So essentially, you can truly have one single project plan and control what is visible and shared with the client and what is not. So you don't have to have two separate project plans, one internal, one external, and having to keep them both updated. It's a nightmare. Rocklane bridges that gap. You just have one portal where both you and customer can work on. And it's not just isolated to tasks, it also extends to documentation, messages, attachments that people add, and comments that people add. So much more can be marked as internal. So truly just one single place where both parties can operate out of, but with restrictions and permissions that you want to define. Cool. So we've seen a couple of these views. There's also a list view, which is not just, yeah, we saw the main project plan, which is great, but maybe you want to track action items. Maybe you want to track a list of feature requests, or risks that you want to capture. So you can actually add lists into the platform that let you track these line items. I've also seen people use this as a way to track change requests, support requests that come in. You can control the columns that are visible over here. So pretty flexible in that sense. And finally, there's a traditional Kanban board, which is going to show you the whole view based on how we want to manipulate the boards. And it's not a timeline based view. So I can move things across swim lanes. I can see what's on each person's plate if I want to see how much Jane has, how much Ruth has, etc. Um, what I can also do is look at my raid log, for example. So I can manipulate the boards to show me risks, action, issues, and move things across swim lanes as well. So these are different kinds of views that you get when it comes to the project plan and the project management itself. Now, there are a few other tabs up on top that make it easier when it comes to collaborating with customers. Um, One is in terms of documentation. We call this spaces. So what you can do in spaces is have a split between what's private and what's public. So private, as the name suggests, is internal. Customers don't see them. Shared spaces are folders that customers can see them, and you can put them into different folders. So think of having Word like document experience Word doc experiences within Rocketlane where people can fill in these private documents or maybe um, take down meeting notes along with action items if they need to. But one thing that's pretty unique here as well is we do understand that you'll have documentation or resources that live on other sources or platforms as well. It's not, we don't want to force you to bring all your documentation and resources into one single platform like Rocketlane. We understand that you might have them everywhere else, like SharePoint, Google Drive, etc. So what we can do in the system is help you embed URLs from external sources and bring them into Rocketlane, even though the source is somewhere else. For example, if I want to bring in a spreadsheet, I want people to view the spreadsheet, maybe even work on the spreadsheet, for example, they can do that from within Rocketlane. For example, if I go into a working model of a spreadsheet, it's not only going to show me the data, but it's also going to let me, edit data right from here. I've also seen people bring in things like the Calendly links, so people can actually book meetings right from here. Also, maybe videos that you want to display back to them. So you can pretty much iframe or embed content that you want. So think of a lot of documentation that you want to keep. Like there's 4 or 5 documents that are always used across all of your projects. You can add those in your templates, and they get added into spaces automatically. And anything that else they want to collaborate with clients, you can add them manually into the space as well. Perfect. Now, the last tab that I want to show you when it comes to project management itself is a very quick way to not only collaborate with clients, but also keep them informed or updated of what's happening. Now, in terms of chat communication or collaboration, that's a built-in portion across the tool. I can click on any task that not only shows me task level information, but also lets me have conversations on the right with my customer. I can tag people, think of Slack or team like experiences where I can tag people, have conversations, and even within these public or shared conversation tracks, I can switch to private messaging so the customer does not see a message that I'm sending internally. And this bridges a lot of gaps, right? If I'm reaching out internally this way, I don't have to use Teams or Slack to then, open a separate window, copy what I'm talking about, and let them know. For example, in this example, Miles, who is a customer, is saying they're unable to see the meeting link. Harvey's responded, who's the implementation manager, back to Miles saying he'll help him out. And right now, in the middle of the conversation, he switched to private messaging and he's asked Rachel to help with the link because she's the host of the meeting. And this way, Miles doesn't have to be spammed with this notification. Rachel knows exactly what Harvey's talking about because she's tagged on this task. She has context. She also sees Miles' message, and she's reacted saying it's been fixed. And then Harvey reaches out back to Miles and says it's done. So in terms of having conversations with context, this makes it so much easier. Um, as a customer, even they don't have to remember to copy your email from somewhere else, send you an email. So the experience itself becomes a lot more tight and seamless. And the second half to this is how do you send out weekly exec summaries or meeting follow-ups to keep everyone informed, even the execs on the customer side. So when sending out these summaries, you can pick from a template, and this is something that you can define in the system as well. And let's say I want to send out a weekly exec summary, it very quickly pulls up a draft of what content I want to send, but also gives me widgets to call out the progress, um, any tasks that were blocked. You can also include, maybe you want to show the burn back to the client. So, hey, this is how much we have consumed so far in terms of hours. So and then you can send this out as an email to the exec. So they're always informed of what's happening. And where we've seen this really work is not only keeping people informed, but it's not an easy conversation to have when customers drop the ball. So when while sending this update out, if people CC the exec on the customer side, they get a copy of it in their inbox. They get to see if there's anyone assigned on tasks that were blocked on their end. They're able to quickly look at that, identify that, and try to turn the ball around and have things moving. So very easy to keep things moving, keep people informed of what's happening. Perfect. Now we've seen a lot of the project management portion, right? So there's a lot of depth to it. There's also a very quick way to keep tabs on what's happening. There's a very quick way to also see or capture key events. Say I want to very quickly see across my projects here, am I finishing my kickoff meetings on time? What is the planned versus actual dates? And these dates are auto captured by Rocketlane. So at the end of the day, you're able to pull reports or look at benchmarks or average on how long your kickoff meetings actually take to complete. And these names of these key events are things that I set up in my system. These can definitely be changed or modified. Perfect. Now they've seen how the internal view looks like for, when it comes to collaboration and project management. Let's look at what the customer collaboration piece looks like. And that's what's super exciting for us, because this is something that's very, very new. You might not, if you're an existing customer, you might not yet even have this in your environment. It's currently on beta, so reach out to us if you want this enabled in your systems. And previously we did have a customer portal, which was a standard, static UI that you weren't able to customize and change, and it was meant as a portal for people to be collaborative, work on tasks, and it was very project management heavy. But with the new customer portal release, what we've done is given the flexibility to you to define what that customer journey looks like. We don't want this to be another portal where a customer just jumps in and is meant to just work on tasks assigned to them, and then once they're done, that's it, right? But rather think of this as a customer 360, a customer journey where you get to craft what they see and what they go through depending on what life cycle they're currently in. So if a customer is currently in implementation, show them a different view. Or if a customer is currently in customer success, show them a completely different view. Or it could even differ based on the type of products or services that you're dealing with. So if you have like two or three different products or services, you can define what that view looks like for the client based on the services or products. Now, I've designed a portal just to show you all how this looks like. I took maybe 15 minutes to put this together, so it's pretty easy. Just drag and drop elements. Think of WordPress.com or Wix.com kind of experiences. So that's pretty similar here. Now, when I click to preview this portal, it can look very similar to your product or your website or your offering. So customers don't really feel like this is a whole different product and they have to go through a learning curve to learn Rocketlane to work with you. Rather, think of it as a white gloved and white labeled experience. So they think it's a part of your offering. It's a lot more flush with the product, so there's a lot more adoption. And you can actually have your own widgets and information displayed back to them. So, hey, welcome them with a video. Let them know why we're doing this initiative or engagement. Maybe show them a bunch of accolades or case studies or anything that you want them to look at. See what's worked for customers in the past. So you can have all of this as a landing page. But once they go through your landing page and all of that, the next portion could probably be the actual engagement itself. There could be a summary card on top that pretty much tells them how much they have remaining in terms of the hours. For example, if there's a total amount of hours that they want them to put in, and that's how much they've put in. So let me just refresh this page to see if that widget loads up. So still in beta, so might be some hiccups here and there, but essentially what you can have on top, imagine on top there's a summary right over here that shows them the amount of burn, right? If there are some customers I've worked with who say, hey, I want to display the total amount of credits or hours they've purchased and what's remaining currently. That's something that you can display on top as a quick summary. It can then branch out to showing them the actual engagement plan itself. So hey, what are we going to do in the first phase? What are the tasks we need to work on? um, and they can click on these tasks to see the content within the task and what they should do. If they have comments or questions, they can add them on the task. There could be a section where they can reach out to your team. They can understand who they're working with and then reach out to them. There could be a section dedicated for just resources. So any files or documents that you attach into the project plan could also be a way for them to book a 30-minute meeting with you, etc. And finally, a dedicated location just to submit requests. And these could be support requests, change requests, feature requests, or any kind of questionnaires that you want to add where people can just submit what they want to submit inside here. So pretty much just wanted to show you what this experience looks like. It's a very new feature. We'll probably be rolling it out to all of our customer base in the coming weeks. And there's a lot of things that are still work in progress in terms of new features being added to this customer portal. So super excited about this. It's going to be a game changer. So if you're interested to know more, please book some time with our team. Happy to go through this module in detail and specific with your team as well. Now, we've looked at most of how Rocketlane helps standardizing things, gives you a lot of visibility into what people do. We also saw how resources can be staffed, how the customer collaboration, internal collaboration works as well. So let's move a little bit towards how the system helps you report on actuals, how time can be booked, how financials can be looked at, and so on, right? Now, of course, there is a traditional timesheet that people can work with. There are a lot of um, bits here to make it easier and efficient for people to track time. I think one game changer really has been our integration with Google or Outlook when it comes to adding things from the calendars. So if people go on a lot of meetings, they can just pull events from their calendars. So I can just check one of these boxes, tag it to a project. You can also let people tag the time entry or the meeting event to a task. If there's a corresponding task or milestone, they can choose that. And also a bucket of time. So we support custom categories. So if you always want to track not just the actual time that people are putting in, but also where do a lot of my people spend the most time at. So I can choose customer meeting and immediately bring that into my timesheet as an event. And meetings always get extended, meetings always fall short. So you can always edit that time as soon as you add it into the timesheet. But this is a big time saver where it really helps you instantly pull in meetings from your calendars. But since it's a traditional timesheet, there's a lot more. You can add multiple rows from last week. You can also ask Rocketlane to provide you with the list of tasks you're currently working on because the system is integrated with project management, so it knows what the team is working on. So our philosophy behind the timesheet module has always been how do we make it more efficient, because it's not anyone's favorite task to do at the end of the week. So how do we optimize for lesser number of clicks? There's also approval workflows and time card settings, like who can track time, till when can they track time, can I edit a submitted timesheet, can we lock time entries? There's so much more settings. So if you're interested, happy to dive deeper on a separate session as well. um, Now we've seen a lot of the time tracking portion as well. That this one new functionality that our existing customer base might not have seen, and something that we are going towards in the direction of account management, which is a new functionality that we launched a couple of months ago, where you can look at accounts which are above projects. So if you're running multiple projects for the same customer, how do we aggregate it and help the team stay on top of things? Overall sentiment, overall profit, revenue, how does it look like? So I can look at an account portfolio view and see for this customer what is the overall revenue, cost, profit, what are the recent engagements that we've had with them, what are the recent activities, and also show me a list of all of the engagements that I've had with this client, a timeline ticker. So in terms of true account management, this is going to really help a lot of teams also adapt, if they want to handle a customer at scale, and even look at a hierarchy of all the customer base, right? So hey, who does who report to? That's the idea behind designing this functionality, where if there are CSMs or account managers shifting hands, another account manager coming in very easily gets to see where things are at account wise, who they should reach out to, who reports to who, and even financials can be looked at from an account perspective as well. Just want to call this out is as the new functionality, which is gaining a lot of traction with our team or customers. And I want to end our session by also talking about a couple of reports that have been super useful for a lot of the teams as well. Starting with a very quick portfolio report. So this is across your different engagements. The tool is going to help you see how many projects that are in the pipe, or rather have been worked on in the given time period, but also goes into the theme of showing you actuals versus forecasts for time, revenue, cost, profit, and margin. You can look at a couple of breakdown charts, either quarterly or monthly, And the bulk of the data, though, comes from this table, which shows you all of the engagements again, along with the budget and also the recurring theme of time, revenue, cost, profit, and margin. So this is coming into showing you a portfolio with both forecasts and actuals, and you can export this. We have downstream integrations with accounting systems like NetSuite, etc., where we can send this information for recognition. We can also send information to generate invoices. We have our own rubric method if you want to use that as well. So all of these tie back into financials. And it's not just financials where we help, we also try to help with looking at the utilization rates. Hey, show me all of the teams and their individual utilization rates. And we can also set targets to compare what their utilization rates were compared to what the team had set maybe at the start of the year and so on. And finally, we also focus a lot on time to value and ensuring things get completed on time. So there are very granular time to value reports that help you see, hey, across all of my projects, what are the bottlenecks? What are the phases that are most likely delayed? What are the tasks that usually end up causing a lot of delays? And the best part is we also call out if it's your responsibility or if it's a customer who's responsible to delay things, so you actually know if you're setting unrealistic expectations in regards to timelines with the customer, or if you've not provided them with the right resources to get things done on time. um, but I'll stop here, but I also just want to call out that the reporting in Rocketlane is vast, right? It's a mix between canned out of the box reports that I'm showing you right now, but we also let you create custom reports on the fly. And this is also a functionality that we launched, I think, a couple of quarters ago, where you're able to build tabular reports as well as pivot tables, because we found that a lot of people shifting to Rocketlane, even though they were using good reports in the previous systems, they couldn't get granular. They were always exporting it, putting it into a CSV Excel file, and then getting pivot charts out of it. We thought, hey, why not just productize it into the system so you're able to build tables or pivots and use formula fields to calculate other data and so much more. But yeah, this has been a quick walkthrough of Rocketlane. We looked at how we can standardize a lot of the things that people do, keep customers accountable, improve visibility across the board, across stakeholders, see what gaps we can bridge to make it seamless to ensure this your services are always profitable, on time delivery, and also maximizing CSAT and so on.